The recent capture of a North Korean soldier by Ukrainian forces marks an unprecedented turn in the ongoing conflict, with the first confirmation of North Korean military personnel's direct involvement in military operations outside Asia. The capture, which occurred as part of Ukraine's recent counteroffensive, raises questions about the extent of North Korea's involvement in Russia's military campaign. At the same time, the presence of North Korean soldiers alongside Russian forces has raised international concerns, violating UN resolutions and highlighting the deepening military ties between Moscow and Pyongyang. Humanitarian crisis unveiled. Recent developments in the Ukraine conflict have highlighted significant humanitarian challenges, particularly regarding the treatment of prisoners of war, following the capture of North Korean combatants. The Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights has conducted extensive interviews with POWs, documenting the experiences of 377 Ukrainian and 434 Russian prisoners. These interviews reveal stark contrasts in the conditions under which prisoners are held, with the most alarming cases involving those in Russian custody. Among the Ukrainian prisoners of war held in Russia, 169 out of 174 reported being subjected to unfair treatment, including severe physical impact, the use of punitive measures, and being forced to maintain stress positions for extended periods. These actions suggest a concerning level of coordination among various Russian state entities, with these practices occurring frequently, even on a daily or weekly basis. Serious violations documented include severe physical abuse, mock trials, sleep deprivation, psychological torment, and inadequate protective measures. Furthermore, coordinated unfair treatment across multiple Russian detention facilities has been observed, raising serious concerns about the scale and systemic nature of these actions. In addition to physical abuse, the medical care provided to POWs is also gravely inadequate, particularly for North Korean soldiers. Communication barriers have severely hampered healthcare delivery, with reports indicating that medical treatment is impossible without translators. The secretive nature of North Korean troop deployment further complicates the situation, as wounded soldiers are transported to specially designated hospital floors with restricted access. This not only limits healthcare access but also raises concerns about the transparency and oversight of medical care provided to these POWs. Ukraine, on the other hand, has shown a strong commitment to adhering to international humanitarian law, cooperating with various oversight bodies such as the Penitentiary Service, the Coordination Headquarters on POW Treatment, and the National Information Bureau. However, despite these efforts, significant disparities in compliance with international standards exist between different internment facilities. While Ukrainian internment facilities generally meet international standards, there have been instances of abuse during the initial capture phases. Additionally, while the International Committee of the Red Cross continues to monitor the situation, access to all facilities remains a challenge, particularly in areas controlled by Russia, where procedural safeguards are frequently bypassed. In a particularly concerning development, recent documentation indicates that Russian authorities have taken measures to conceal the identities of North Korean casualties, including attempts to destroy identifying features of deceased soldiers. This practice not only violates international conventions regarding the treatment of war casualties but also raises further questions about Russia's compliance with established norms for the treatment of prisoners. These disturbing practices underscore the ongoing humanitarian crisis and the urgent need for comprehensive international oversight. Soldiers' combat experience. Military analysts examining the performance of North Korean troops in Ukraine have identified significant challenges regarding their combat effectiveness. The soldiers, mainly from the elite Storm Corps unit, exhibit a notable discrepancy between their intense ideological indoctrination and their practical combat capabilities. The North Korean military contingent arrives with a complex training history. While these troops belong to specialized units designed for infiltration and sabotage, they face considerable limitations in actual combat situations. Their training emphasizes physical endurance and ideological conditioning, but it lacks exposure to modern warfare tactics and technologies. The Storm Corps, despite being one of North Korea's most elite units, shows worrying gaps in its readiness for contemporary combat, especially in mechanized warfare, where the soldiers' skills fall short. Adapting to the modern battlefield has proven to be a particularly tough challenge for these troops. Reports from the front lines highlight high casualty rates, with over 1,000 North Korean soldiers either killed or wounded in just 1 week in the Kursk region of Russia. Key operational difficulties include their inability to counter drone surveillance and attacks, communication issues with Russian command structures, and limited experience with advanced 21st-century weapons systems. Furthermore, they struggle to adapt to the unfamiliar terrain and fast-changing conditions of modern warfare. The psychological impact of combat on North Korean troops is also a significant factor in their performance. Military intelligence reports indicate that while these soldiers display unwavering ideological commitment, they are highly susceptible to psychological warfare. Ukrainian forces have launched psychological operations, including leaflets and videos in Korean, attempting to sway them into surrendering. The soldiers' psychological state is further complicated by isolation and cultural differences. Many of them see their deployment as a potential opportunity to escape their oppressive regime, though they are fully aware that surrendering would carry severe consequences. This dynamic manifests in their combat behavior, which often involves mass, disorganized assaults on Ukrainian positions with minimal protection and little regard for casualties. The unique combination of intense ideological conditioning and limited experience with modern warfare has led to a psychological profile that makes these troops highly resilient in terms of physical endurance, but ill-equipped for the tactical flexibility demanded by contemporary combat. Their response to battlefield stress is notably influenced by the strict cultural taboo against surrender. Some have even resorted to self-inflicted injuries rather than face capture, underscoring the deep psychological pressure they face in the conflict. Russia-NK military partnership. This psychological resilience, while notable, is one of the reasons why the military partnership between Russia and North Korea has gained momentum. In June 2024, Russia and North Korea took a significant step in strengthening their military ties by signing a comprehensive defense treaty, marking a pivotal shift in global military alliances. This new phase of their partnership is a calculated response to both nations' growing international isolation, addressing their mutual strategic needs and reshaping their respective military landscapes. At the core of this strengthened alliance is the Mutual Defense Treaty, which outlines several key provisions. The treaty guarantees immediate military assistance in the event of an armed invasion, establishing robust defense capabilities and mechanisms. It also emphasizes the development of scientific and technological cooperation, along with the creation of alternative payment systems and cooperation in peaceful nuclear energy and space programs. By committing to provide military and other forms of assistance without delay, using all means in possession if either nation faces armed aggression, the treaty elevates the relationship to a comprehensive strategic partnership. This partnership brings distinct benefits to both nations. For Russia, the alliance provides essential military support, with approximately 10,000 North Korean troops deployed to Russia's Kursk Oblast. In return, North Korea receives financial compensation, with reports indicating that Moscow is paying USD 2,000 per soldier per month, a valuable source of foreign currency for Pyongyang. Additionally, Russia gains access to substantial supplies of munitions, with an estimated 74,000 metric tons of North Korean ammunition shipped to Russian ports between August 2023 and January 2024. For North Korea, the partnership offers potential access to advanced military technologies, particularly in satellite development and nuclear energy. This alignment opens new opportunities for Pyongyang to enhance its military capabilities and reduce its dependence on China, which has been a long-standing strategic partner. Meanwhile, Russia seeks to establish alternative trade mechanisms that are less reliant on Western powers, thus strengthening its ability to navigate international sanctions and economic isolation. The strategic objectives of the Russia-North Korea partnership extend beyond immediate military cooperation. This evolving relationship is, in many ways, a marriage of convenience driven by both nations' shared opposition to U.S. foreign policy and their mutual desire to break free from Western influence. Over time, what began as a transactional arrangement is transformed into a longer-term strategic partnership, with both sides working to establish sustainable mechanisms for cooperation. Russian President Vladimir Putin has made clear his commitment to opposing sanctions on North Korea, calling them illegal and emphasizing Russia's role in helping develop alternative payment systems independent of Western control. The partnership's military implications are already evident, with North Korean missiles being deployed in Ukraine and Russian technical advisors assisting in enhancing North Korea's industrial capabilities. This cooperation provides North Korea with invaluable combat experience in modern warfare, while Russia gains a steady source of military personnel and material, reinforcing the military alliance's significance on the global stage. Operational challenges. However, the military cooperation between the two countries has not been without its challenges. Ukrainian military intelligence has uncovered severe operational difficulties faced by North Korean forces stationed in the Kursk region. These troops, despite their ideological conditioning and deployment alongside Russian forces, are struggling to integrate effectively into Russian military operations. Recent reports show that over 1,000 North Korean soldiers have been killed or wounded in just a single week, underscoring the high human cost of their participation and the operational struggles they face. This combination of strategic support and operational setbacks highlights the complex dynamics of the Russia-North Korea military alliance and its impact on the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. One of the most significant challenges is the communication barrier between North Korean and Russian forces. Despite efforts to teach approximately 100 key military terms, North Korean soldiers continue to struggle with the Russian language, which has led to a series of severe operational consequences. This communication gap has resulted in instances of friendly fire, including an attack on Russian Akhmat battalion equipment, and has hindered effective coordination during combat operations. Additionally, complications in command and control structures, particularly at lower echelons, have made it difficult to integrate North Korean forces smoothly into Russian military strategies. In addition to communication difficulties, North Korean forces are grappling with serious equipment limitations. Reports from military intelligence indicate that much of their gear is outdated and unsuitable for modern warfare. Their limited familiarity with contemporary combat systems and inadequate protection during assault operations have compounded these challenges. Furthermore, the troops are struggling to adapt to unfamiliar battlefield environments, further reducing their operational effectiveness. Logistical issues have also played a significant role in hindering North Korean forces' ability to maintain combat readiness. Ukrainian intelligence reports highlight severe supply chain disruptions, with North Korean troops facing critical shortages of essential resources. The most pressing issue has been a shortage of drinking water, which has affected both troop sustainability and their overall effectiveness in combat. The harsh operational environment in the Kursk region has exacerbated these challenges. North Korean troops are often deployed with minimal protective equipment, which has contributed to significant casualties. Preliminary data indicates that over 3,000 North Korean soldiers have been killed or wounded in this region alone. Intercepted communications suggest that Russian military commanders are treating North Korean troops as expendable resources, ordering them to carry out hopeless assaults against well-defended Ukrainian positions. This callous tactical approach, combined with logistical constraints and communication breakdowns, has led to what White House officials have described as mass casualties among North Korean units. The combination of communication barriers, equipment limitations, and severe logistical challenges have severely impaired the operational effectiveness of North Korean forces, raising serious concerns about their role in the ongoing conflict and the consequences of their integration into Russian military operations. Impact on the Korean Peninsula. South Korean intelligence has confirmed more than 1,100 North Korean casualties in Ukraine, marking a significant and unprecedented expansion of Pyongyang's military activities beyond its borders. This development has reshaped regional security dynamics, raising important questions about how North Korea's battlefield experience can enhance its military capabilities. Moreover, North Korea's deepening alliance with Russia adds a layer of complexity to the geopolitical landscape, prompting South Korea and its allies to reassess their defense strategies in response to this evolving threat. South Korea has responded to these developments with a reassessment of its defense posture. The Yoon administration has expressed serious concern over the deployment, viewing it as a critical threat to regional stability. Central to Seoul's worries is the possibility that North Korean forces will gain valuable combat experience, refine their weapons systems, and modernize their conventional warfare capabilities through their involvement in Ukraine. The strengthened ties between Pyongyang and Moscow also present a new strategic challenge for South Korea. To address these concerns, South Korea has begun implementing countermeasures, including the exploration of providing tactical support to Ukraine. This may involve sending personnel to assist with interrogations of captured North Korean soldiers and conducting detailed analyses of their combat strategies. At the same time, the government is bolstering its military alliance with the United States, focusing on nuclear and strategic planning, the increased presence of U.S. assets on the Korean Peninsula, and enhanced cooperation in space and cyber defense. These efforts are further supported by deepening trilateral security collaboration with Japan and the United States, creating a unified front against the evolving threats posed by North Korea and its alignment with Russia. The Russia-North Korea Security Treaty has also introduced new complexities to regional security, with provisions that could justify Moscow's involvement in future Korean Peninsula conflicts. This possibility has prompted South Korea to fortify its defense mechanisms and diplomatic ties. Meanwhile, China's cautious response reflects its delicate balancing act between its economic interests and its strategic partnerships in the region. Adding to these challenges, inter-Korean relations have reached a new low. North Korea's recent constitutional amendments now classify South Korea as a hostile nation, signaling a shift toward open antagonism. The destruction of inter-Korean infrastructure and intensified propaganda campaigns have further deteriorated the already fragile relationship. In this tense environment, South Korea is contemplating a significant shift in its policy on arms exports. Providing military support to Ukraine, previously unthinkable, is now under serious consideration as Seoul seeks to counter North Korea's expanding military capabilities and its deepening alliance with Moscow. These developments illustrate the far-reaching implications of North Korea's military activities in Ukraine. The ripple effects of this involvement are reshaping the security landscape of Northeast Asia, compelling South Korea and its allies to respond to an increasingly complex and interconnected global conflict. Global legal ramifications. Simultaneously, the legal ramifications of North Korea's actions are drawing international attention. Ukrainian authorities, supported by global legal experts, have initiated formal investigations into potential violations of international law. The Ukrainian Prosecutor General's office has launched proceedings to determine whether North Korea's military support to Russia constitutes a crime of aggression, marking a critical step in holding third-party actors accountable for their roles in the conflict. The treatment of North Korean prisoners of war, POWs, has emerged as a focal point of legal scrutiny under the Third Geneva Convention of 1949. Ukrainian investigators have documented several violations, including attempts to conceal the identities of captured soldiers, interference with proper registration processes, and the denial of fundamental repatriation rights and medical care. Compounding these issues are reports of Russian efforts to issue passports to North Korean soldiers, further complicating their legal status under international humanitarian law. In addition to examining POW treatment, Ukrainian prosecutors have established a comprehensive investigation framework to address the broader scope of North Korea's involvement in the conflict. This includes allegations of arms supply to Russian forces, the organization of military training programs, direct participation in hostilities, and coordination of combat operations. Evidence gathered so far suggests that North Korean officials could face charges for their active role in aiding Russia's military campaign. With corroboration from the Dutch Defense Ministry confirming the deployment of at least 1,500 North Korean troops for combat operations. The international response has been swift, with the U.S. Treasury Department implementing targeted sanctions against banks, shipping companies, and individuals linked to North Korea's support for Russia. These measures aim to dismantle the financial and logistical networks facilitating Pyongyang's involvement. Legal experts assert that North Korea's actions, including the provision of troops and arms, directly contravene its obligations under international law, violating UN Security Council resolutions, arms control treaties, and human rights conventions. Beyond direct combat involvement, North Korea's support for Russia raises broader legal concerns about the prohibition of aiding wrongful acts by third states, as outlined in Article 16 of the Articles on State Responsibility. Evidence points to Pyongyang's intent to facilitate Russia's military campaign, a move that has triggered significant legal and diplomatic consequences. The U.S. has reiterated its commitment to pursuing accountability. National Security Communications Advisor John Kirby emphasized the importance of holding all actors responsible for their contributions to what he described as Russia's illegal and brutal war in Ukraine. This evolving situation underscores the broader implications of third-party military involvement in modern conflicts and signals a potential shift in international legal precedents. Humanitarian organizations' role. Amid these developments, international humanitarian organizations like the International Committee of the Red Cross find themselves navigating an increasingly difficult landscape. The presence of North Korean soldiers in Ukraine has introduced unique complications, stretching the limits of the ICRC's ability to fulfill its mandate. Restricted access to detention facilities and inadequate communication channels with captured personnel have hampered the organization's efforts to ensure the humane treatment of prisoners of war. These challenges highlight the tension between upholding humanitarian principles and adapting to the multifaceted realities of modern conflict, underscoring the need for stronger international mechanisms to address such crises. Reports indicate that many Ukrainian prisoners of war released from Russian captivity never received ICRC visits, highlighting the organization's constrained effectiveness. Access to over 150 detention facilities in Russia has been consistently denied, leaving the ICRC unable to verify the conditions or treatment of prisoners, including North Korean soldiers. These restrictions have hindered efforts to maintain neutrality and fulfill its humanitarian role. Coordination of aid has also proven challenging. The ICRC's requests to visit prison facilities housing wounded prisoners of war have been repeatedly denied, leaving critical gaps in oversight. Limited access to medical facilities, restricted communication channels, and inadequate information sharing among humanitarian organizations have further complicated the response. Meanwhile, the repatriation of captured North Korean soldiers has been hampered by procedural difficulties and a lack of transparency. The rights of prisoners, particularly wounded North Korean soldiers, remain a central concern. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed that while some North Korean soldiers were taken prisoner, many were severely wounded and could not be saved. Evidence suggests deliberate attempts to conceal the identities of North Korean casualties, with Russian forces allegedly issuing fake Russian IDs to North Korean soldiers and burning the faces of deceased personnel to prevent identification. These actions complicate the ICRC's work and raise questions about the organization's effectiveness in conflicts involving authoritarian regimes. At the 34th International Conference in Geneva, the ICRC faced criticism for failing to address the lack of access to Ukrainian prisoners in Russian custody. This has intensified doubts about the ability of traditional humanitarian frameworks to function in highly controlled and opaque environments. The legal status of North Korean soldiers adds another layer of complexity. South Korea has described these troops as mercenaries disguised in Russian uniforms, creating challenges in defining their rights under international humanitarian law. Ukrainian authorities may leverage captured North Korean soldiers for intelligence purposes, offering sole access to these prisoners in exchange for information about North Korean military capabilities. This intertwines humanitarian concerns with strategic intelligence objectives, reflecting the intricate dynamics at play in this conflict. These developments underscore the profound challenges faced by the international humanitarian community in addressing the treatment of North Korean soldiers in Ukraine, while also revealing the broader implications for international law and humanitarian principles in contemporary conflicts. Diplomatic consequences. At the same time, the diplomatic fallout from North Korea's military support for Russia has been profound, with a series of consequences that are reshaping international relations and alliance structures. Foreign ministers from 10 countries and the European Union issued an unprecedented joint statement condemning military cooperation between North Korea and Russia, emphasizing the seriousness of the alliance. The partnership has raised global concerns, leading to coordinated sanctions against both North Korea and Russia, highlighting growing geopolitical and humanitarian tensions. The U.S. Treasury Department has imposed sanctions on North Korean banks, financial institutions, and military figures along shipping companies and individuals linked to the military cooperation. These sanctions are designed to impact both military and economic sectors, and South Korea has followed suit by blacklisting key figures, including General Kim Yong-bok, a close associate of Kim Jong-un. These actions demonstrate a growing global response to the deepening ties between the two nations. The military alliance has complicated peace negotiations not only in Eastern Europe but also on the Korean Peninsula. Russia's veto of UN Security Council resolutions monitoring North Korean sanctions violations has made it difficult to enforce international laws, marking a historic moment where the UN Security Council has been rendered largely ineffective on the issue of North Korean sanctions. This development, along with North Korea's recognition of annexed Ukrainian territories and joint opposition to Western security frameworks, has led to further diplomatic isolation for both nations. These actions have also prompted a significant realignment of international alliances. North Korea's military support to Russia has opened the door for the country to potentially join several key international organizations, including the Russian-led Collective Security Organization, BRICS expansion initiatives, and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. This realignment is shaping a new global security architecture, with analysts describing it as the formation of a new nuclear state alliance that may include Belarus and Iran, further complicating regional security dynamics. At the same time, Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov's statement that North Korean denuclearization is a closed matter marks a fundamental shift in regional security, effectively legitimizing North Korea's nuclear status. China's position on the matter has become increasingly complex, as it navigates its traditional alliances while maintaining a strategic balance in its relations with North Korea and Russia. China's abstention from key UN votes signals a potential realignment of regional powers. The international community's response to these developments has been swift and coordinated. A joint statement from foreign ministers of key Western and allied nations condemned the military cooperation as a dangerous expansion of the conflict, demonstrating the global significance of North Korea's involvement in Ukraine. The situation has placed South Korea in a precarious diplomatic position. While the Yoon administration considers phased countermeasures against North Korea's growing military involvement, domestic political constraints, including opposition control of the National Assembly, have hindered efforts to pass stronger measures, such as enhanced military support for Ukraine. These diplomatic and security developments have created what analysts are calling an indivisible link between the security concerns of the Indo-Pacific and European regions. This has prompted Western nations to rethink their strategies to contain both Russian aggression and North Korean military expansion, while also seeking to prevent the rise of a new anti-Western alliance system in Eurasia. These developments mark a pivotal moment in global geopolitics, signaling a shift in international power dynamics with far-reaching implications for security and alliance systems. As new military partnerships form between authoritarian states, the challenges facing the international community are only increasing. Addressing these changes will require sustained diplomatic efforts and strategic responses from global leaders. How do you think the international community should navigate these complex changes?